I'll admit, I live in a bubble. I live in a bubble where I love being a woman. I love being able to wear beautiful dresses. I love doing my makeup differently every morning to express my mood and creativity. I love having girls' nights where we unapologetically talk about boys. And of course, I love all of the Beyonce songs that I can scream at the top of my lungs because we do run the world. But every time I step out of this bubble, I question whether today's society actually loves me for being a woman. From childhood to teenage years to adulthood, women perpetually lose the battle against men as their life and career progresses. From arguing which doors are girly and which are not, to fighting against prejudices of being a woman in school and stereotypes about gender jobs, to battling stereotypes about gender quotas in the workplace, to standing up against the fear that society holds of feminism, femininity, and motherhood. And although we do see progress, until we join the battlefield together and hold ourselves, the society, and the government accountable, we will continue to dismiss the struggles of women in everyday life and allow the stagnant perceptions about gender roles to penetrate further into our minds and hearts. Once a baby that was carried for 9 months is born into a little girl, she steps into the world of nature versus nurture where she automatically loses against any man. While picking toys, the girl is offered to wander in the girly pink aisle. The little girl has plentiful of options. She can choose between a white-skinned, perfect body Barbie or Baby Bjorn because, of course, she is a girl. She will want to be a mother someday. Or a homemaker. That's what makes her life meaningful. I mean, why should it matter that a toy baby is exclusive to girls even though you need two parents to make their own baby? Or maybe while cruising the aisle, she will choose a Lego friend set, where the girls are pictured in full face makeup lounging by the beach or in a beauty salon. Or a Lego friend set, where the pieces are pre-assembled to not bother her pretty little head about icky boy things like building. Her male counterpart, a young boy on the other hand, can choose between a car, a scientist set, power tools, or a Lego city kit where he can embody and reenact the careers of a policeman, firefighter, astronaut, or a pilot, with little pieces to help develop his motor skills. While the young boys dive into the world of technologies and experimentation, the girls are encouraged to stay in their lane, focusing on gentle, maternal role-playing games. Misogyny is even rooted from our female role models. Moms saying that if a boy is mean to you, he likes you, and boys will be boys. Teachers asking for two strong boys to help them carry books, being asked by our relatives to sit ladylike, paint our nails, pierce our ears, hide our periods and bra straps, pluck and wax only to please a male gaze. I vividly remember my grandmother dragging me away from a group of boys climbing trees because I'm a girl, because I will hurt myself, because girls are supposed to be modest, polite, and non-disturbing. We, as adults, are able to view stereotypes as generalizations about a group. Unfortunately, young children are more accepting of stereotypes and implicitly believe that girls are indeed poor in STEM subjects. The social conditioning from a young age directly results in fewer women taking STEM classes, me being one of them. Studies show that only 13% of women have a desire to work in the tech sector. While women constitute almost 50% of the labor market, there are only 28% of women in STEM fields as opposed to 72% of men. The problems of social conditioning stem deeper than the statistics about women in STEM fields. The struggles of women in the patriarchal world even change the behavior of women entering and settling themselves in their workplaces. In order to be perceived as serious, women have to masculinize themselves. Women that choose themselves to name themselves in CVs in more traditionally masculine names, such as Alex instead of Alexandra, have a higher chance of getting an interview and being employed. To compete and succeed in male-dominated spaces, to display traditionally masculine conceptions of leadership, women put themselves in pantsuits, a historic symbol of patriarchy. From the corporate world to the upper echelons of government, women are regularly interrupted, talked over, misheard, or misperceived when they speak. Thanks to the changing power dynamics, women even have to deepen their voices. We all have been conditioned to listen to low-pitched voices as they're perceived to be louder, more confident, and assertive. The rise of women in more prominent roles in society led them to adopt a deeper tone to project authority and dominance in the workplace, losing the strength that comes from our collective diversity and a chance to prove yourself as an equal by not becoming identical. Embracing their femininity becomes difficult for women who are trying to insert themselves into the male-dominated workplaces. While trying to come off as more leading and commanding, essentially manly, they lose parts of themselves that uniquely make them a woman. This creates a problem in the long run. The acceptance of women that do not fight and adhere to the patriarchal society's norms and the disregardfulness of women that are presenting themselves in a more traditionally feminine way, showing up in dresses or skirts and not altering their voices or manners to blend in. With this, women essentially have to erase their gender to be perceived as equals when their whole life they've been taught to be traditionally feminine. They have to erase their gender to be perceived as equals, to not be part of the 42% who face gender discrimination in the workplace, to not be 1 in 4 who face sexual assault in the workplace. As they try to climb the corporate ladder, women face the struggle of implicit bias, such as performance support, review, and reward bias. Employers are seen choosing to allocate more resources, promotions, and larger paycheck to male employees. This results in women hitting a glass ceiling that prevents them from reaching upper-level roles in leadership. For every 100 men promoted to manager, only 85 women were promoted. Women even coined their own term, the glass cliff, describing a phenomenon where women are more likely to be put in leadership positions when an organization is at its highest chance at failing. While the progressive countries started to fight the battle together by implementing gender quotas into their workplaces, such as Trudeau giving Canada their first cabinet with an equal number of men and women, women around the world face backlash, being perceived as having it easy and taking the spots from more qualified men. The rise of women in higher positions is seen as reparations, and the focus shifts from creating equality to supporting inequality that unfairly favors women. It is natural that a woman will start thinking about kids, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the biggest fear of any employer. The innate nature of women to give birth, lack of femininity in the workplace, and social conditioning of young girls to become mothers and housewives creates an unconscious bias against all women, asking illegal questions in interviews about their parental plans and responsibilities, and reconsidering hiring a woman as she will someday have children, thus become a financial burden in the future. Mothers are pushed out of their jobs after giving birth and requiring days off, labeled as liabilities to their employers. They face penalties for taking time out of the workforce. They face limits to advance in their careers and eventually face the inevitable early retirement to raise a child. 90% of women who leave the workforce do so not to care for their families, but because of workplace problems, chiefly frustration, long hours, and the inability to work part-time without being marginalized. Why should I, as a young woman, have to lie about my family status to get a job? Why should I have to prove not how good of an employee I will be, but how many, or for the matter of fact, few children I am planning to have? The struggles of women in the workplace should be tackled on an individual level, in the community, and through government. With masculinity becoming a synonym for a leader, the conversation about feminism becomes harder each day. While society is pushing back against change with phrases such as, "not all men," well, men experience this too. Each one of us individually carries a burden to be aware and to call out inequalities that women face each and every day. We all carry a burden to notice, to not disregard the silent cry for help from women in workspaces, to share our space and time, to explicitly ask for a woman's opinion until it becomes natural for their voices to be heard, even the high-pitched ones. It is a gruesome job, but one that is necessary for any change to happen. We all have a burden to eventually be responsible parents that let their children browse through both of the aisles, the boys and the girls, while picking toys, and to encourage envisioning a scientist not as a white man with crazy hair and a white lab coat, but as an inquisitive, daring, and adventurous person. Each one of us needs to recognize our views on femininity and redefine and catch the prejudices we hold ourselves before they slip out. If men wearing beautiful dresses are met with backlash and tweets such as "bring back manly men," and if we as society remain complacent with such bullying, the view of femininity being an undesirable trait penetrates into our mindsets, workplaces, and everyday life. And if we continue to over-sexualize femininity while opposing women embracing their femininity in sexually explicit songs such as "WAP" by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, we're sending off hypocritical messages of perception of women to men, and at the same time setting unattainable standards for young girls to achieve. All of us have a burden to convey one message to our girls: be strong, independent, and unapologetic, just like the man is. Also, All of us individually must change our perceptions of implementation and effect of gender quotas in the workplace as necessary for further change to happen. Quotas in the business world can put an end to the old boys network and ensure that qualified women are no longer denied access to management positions because of their gender. The quotas are by definition temporary measures aimed at eradicating the inequality that has built up over time. Once that is done, the quotas can be lifted in accordance with the principle of equal treatment. Quotas help to amend women's underrepresentation in prominent positions and make it entirely normal for women to take up managerial roles in political, economic, and academic systems. To solve the struggles of women, we must ensure the education system is ready to treat everyone impartially. Because the snowball effect of prejudice and parents enforcing their views onto children is present, quality education and the equality of it is crucial for any change that we are hoping for. We must ensure that girls are given equal access to information regarding the sector and what it has to offer, without interference from stereotypical narratives which shape perceptions from an early age. Studies demonstrate that teachers themselves can contribute to these stereotypes by giving boys more attention in class, by rating their abilities higher than girls even when girls get the same test scores as boys. Conversely, intervention programs for teachers, including career information and visits by women researchers to the classroom, and are subsequently less likely to result in stereotypical classifications of gender roles among students. This is because the teacher's bias has been actively addressed, leading to reinforcement of diversity in their teaching. In addition, we must seek change not only from below, but from above. Our governments need to redefine what parenting is. Raising future generations should not be put on the backs of women. Whilst fighting the social conditioning of females being mothers, legislations allowing all parents to experience the first year of their newborn's life equally should be passed, adding paternity to maternity leave. In order to fight the fear surrounding motherhood, in the eyes of the employer, we must make children not a women's issue, but any young employee's issue. Currently, France is one of the countries leading the change. Both of the parents are encouraged to take comfortable leaves of work while accessing affordable childcare, being able to send their kids off to school at a younger age of 3 that provide full-course meals catered specifically for children's needs. The recognition of parenting, of an equal job to the 9 to 5, of a job that is not taking away from the skill set of parents is essential for all genders to feel secure about their work and family relations. Today I stand in front of all of you asking, let's burst our bubbles. Let's step out of the comfort zone, let's face our mistakes, let's allow our voices, however high or low-pitched ones, to be heard and continue to implement meaningful change that will result in no speeches on gender inequality delivered in WIDPCC, because the problem will become obsolete. This might be a man's world, but it wouldn't mean nothing without a woman or a girl.
Ooh.